Welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight, another episode with an inspiring person. Today, we have a special Yom Hazikaron episode for Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers and for victims of terror, which is a day that's marked every single year and which is a serious day in the Hebrew calendar. And we have our special guest today, someone who I've had the privilege of meeting personally, Chantal Young, who lived in Paris. She was born in Paris. Her parents were from Tunisia. She spent the last 40 years in the UK after meeting her British husband in Paris. And Chantal and family were meant to make aliyah in October 2023. She'll tell us the story. 3 of her kids had already made aliyah, and she had soldiers in the army. One of the sons was a lone soldier. And her son, Nathanel Young, who was a sergeant in the army at the time, was tragically killed on October 7th, just before they made aliyah. So welcome, Chantal. Thank you so much for being our guest. I've heard your story. Our guests have not heard your story, so please share it with us. Before we go into starting and telling about Nathanel and the events of October 7th, please just share with us about your life as a Jew in the UK before you made aliyah. And also, you're a professional chef. So please share with us a little bit about that. So welcome, Chantal.
Hi, good morning. I'm Chantal. I was born in Paris. And then I met my husband, the Englishman, and I ended up living in London for 40 years. We had a good life in London. I came out of uni, so I didn't know what job I would do, but I ended up being a French assistant, and then I would end up being a chef for over 20 years. I enjoy cooking for the children and my love for cooking as well. I also did cooking demonstration and a small scale caterer as well. Food is one of my passions, and my children really enjoyed it as well.
Was Israel always a part of your conversations, Zionism? At what stage did you think that you were going to make aliyah? Because you had 3 kids that preceded you with your aliyah.
That's right. Israel was always on the map. We always had a dream to go to Israel. I had 5 kids. So it was a question of the kids were too young, then the kids were too old. So we like a dilemma. Shall we do it? Shall we not do it? And at the end, we took so long. So it ended up that my 3 older kids made aliyah before us. And then when the last one, which is Nathanel, decided he's going to the army, and my youngest daughter got married, I said, we have no kids at home. We have no reason not to make aliyah. And we took the decision, and Baruch Hashem was the best decision that we made. We are so happy to be in Israel now because we are among our granddaughters. And we have still one daughter in London, but we're working on her for her to join us soon, I hope. We love our life in Israel and in South Netanya, where we have a lovely community. I wouldn't be anywhere else where my son is buried. So that's what I would do anyway. So thank God.
You'd already packed up your house and you were selling your house. Literally, this was during Sukkot 2023,
So
when you received the tragic news.
I heard the word hostage from my husband, and then I freaked out. And I started talking about being injured and then not knowing what's happening, my son not finding where Nathanel was. And it was not until after 11 o'clock midnight that we actually heard that my son passed away. Because in the army, as you might know, there's a protocol and they can't tell you anything. And then once we knew, the army organized flight, and I don't know how my husband managed to drive to London. I think we were putting on autopilot. I remember very clearly telling the guy that I have to change my ticket because my son just died. Now, to say something like that is not normal. And the guy was probably a bit shocked as well. I just don't know how we made it to London. My daughter was there. The flight was organized for us to go to Israel. We were met up by my older daughter, Gabby, who was actually 6 months pregnant. And she's the one who got the knock at the door. And I was so worried about her. But she's strong, and Baruch Hashem, she was fine. And by the way, both my daughters were all pregnant. But there was a worry as well with the shock and all that. But Baruch Hashem, 2 months ago, we had the beautiful gift of having 4 new grandchildren. So that's helped. But when I took my phone, I saw that he called me around 6:30. He heard there was trouble, and the girl in the watchtower saw there was trouble coming, terrorists coming in. So she asked for help, and he was the first one. And before that, Nathaniel tried to call us to hear our voice. And obviously, we didn't have our phone on. So we actually called my daughter. And I'm so pleased that she answered the phone. So we called her to see if she was safe. And I'm so pleased that she answered the phone because at least I know he heard one of his siblings' voice or one of his family's voice. Afterwards, he went to see what was the trouble and he managed to kill, apparently, we never know for sure, but apparently he managed to kill a few terrorists and unfortunately he was surrounded and he was killed and he was the first one to be killed in his base. His commander very bravely came to rescue his body because if he wouldn't have done that, his body would have been a hostage and he would have been in agony of waiting what happened to him. So I thank that. And I think in this tragedy, we actually, one of the lucky ones, we managed to give him a decent burial. And we were not in this situation of not knowing what happened to him. Although we are unlucky for him to have died, but we are lucky that he died in this way because we managed to give him he was one of the first ones buried in Herzl. And one of the striking things, when we arrived in Herzl, there was actually in his plot about 3 graves. And by the end of the Shiva, unfortunately, there was about 30. But people were standing, the crowd was full of the extent of the horrible situation. It was terrible. That's actually another soldier fell, and one of his friends fell at the same time as him a few hours later. And he was having to grieve over and over again.
In other words, for your son and knowing that his close friend had also been killed.
And it was very painful for me. But we arrived in La Boya, and I just saw a few people, and I said, "Oh, good, it's going to be a small." And little did I know, when I turned the corner in Herzl, there was about over 1,000 people.
So you know that he was your son, but Israelis see every single soldier and terror victim as their children too. So he was actually all of our sons.
And I know, don't forget, I'm not Israeli and I came from London. It was like a very big surprise to me and warm surprise. And another thing which was quite amazing as well, is a man came to me and he was the father or the friend of my son who fell, but he had the courage of coming to our La Boya to wish us to be with us. So that is strength as well. And later we went to his Shiva as well. And we're still in touch with him. And it's what happened to us. We actually, now we created like a kind of new family of various parents.
Essentially, what is very sad is that you form this community or this club which no one wants to be part of.
And just the fact that they have the courage to fight. I don't think people take the soldier for granted, maybe not now anymore, but you have to realize that what they do for us is incredible. And it's not easy for them. They rough it out a lot and they still train hard. Is incredible. And each of these soldiers who fell and who are still fighting now are very special people. I want to tell you a story of my son. Since he was little, he grew up seeing his big brother being a Santanim. So Israel and the army was always in his background. And when he was about 13, in his school, they said, "What do you want to be when you're older?" And he actually wrote, he wanted to defend Israel, he wanted to be in the army, in the Israeli army, defending Israel. And that's what
Wow,
he
that's
dreamed.
incredible. How did you feel seeing that at the time? And what did his teachers say seeing that?
Well, the thing is, I don't think his teachers saw his real potential. He was always in trouble in school. He went through a very difficult growing up period of teenagehood, and it was not easy for us and for him. And he dealt with a lot of low self-esteem, didn't really have a very close, proper friend. He had 2 passions. So the 2 passions for him was the army and music. And I'm pleased that it's very important for children, especially when children with challenges, you find their passion. So obviously we did everything to make sure that he developed his passion. And when he told me he wanted to be in the army, I did everything to support him. During COVID, he decided to apply to Garin Sabah, which is a volunteer program where the young people make aliyah and they are looked after the whole program. And to do that during COVID, it was all done on Zoom and on the phone. And unfortunately, after a few tests and questioning, he didn't fit the program, so he was not accepted. He was really upset. So somebody suggested the 18 months program where you don't do aliyah, you find Israel for 18 months and you are in the army and you do the proper training. And he was accepted. And on October 21, he left to start his program, Mahal. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. And he was starting really to appreciate what the army was like. And he loved the army life. And he met up with a friend from kindergarten, which was incredible as well. And then 2 months later, Nathanel, he disobeyed an order and he was told that he's out of the program, no coming back. He cannot join the program again. And he was really upset. I've never seen him so low for all these difficulties, but the lowest I've seen him. He went to a very deep depression and we were quite worried about it. But he said one thing, he said, I am not going back to London. So meanwhile, he had this idea, I'm going to make aliyah. Because if I make aliyah, then I have no choice. I have to make the army. I have to do the army. He was just coming out of COVID and the Ukraine was coming in mass to Israel as well. So it was not easy. The office was sometimes open, sometimes closed. You make an appointment, you go all the way there. And so meanwhile, he went to Brofit, a kibbutz near Eilat, and he hated it, but he did it. And he made some friends and it was good for building up his ability to respect what was doing and to do it not for money, but actually to do it to help people. And then after going back and forth, he managed to get his aliyah paper, the date, and he got his passport, and he was really happy. And he got his date when he was going to enroll to the army, which is at August. Meanwhile, he managed to get a job in the Hilton Hotel. And I have a little story about that because he got the job originally in the Ritz Hotel. And Nathaniel was not religious or Shema Shabbat, but he learned one thing. He learned never to work on Shabbat. When they told him that in Ritz he had to work on Shabbat, he said, I'm sorry, I'm not taking the job. And one day later, he got a better job in Hilton Hotel as a concierge, and then he loved it. It was a bit like James Bond. He used to come in shorts and come back with a suit, and he was tall. And in the 3 months he was there, he made a big impact. And people used to call him DJ there, and some of the clients of the hotel recognized him from Instagram and social media. And he was quite popular. August 22, he joined the army. And after his training, he got the news that he got into Golani. He wanted to go in combat. And to make sure he gets into combat, because you see, I'm not going to be armed doing nothing. He has to be in the action. And just before that, he did a grueling training for Karin Mahal for 6 weeks, which is crazy training. And over the year he was in the army, I saw his transformation. It was an incredible transformation. And from a boy who was always in trouble, didn't believe in himself, who gave up easily. But one thing he never gave up on the army, and he was training so hard. Because of his difficulty, me and Nathaniel had a very strong connection, very strong relationship. I used to call him nearly every night. And every night I used to tell him how proud I am of him and how he can achieve anything he can. And even to this day, I tell all my friends, so important, people I know, people I meet. And I'm telling you now to all people who are listening to me, please tell your children, tell your children how you love them, because don't assume they know. Every day tell them you love them. Every day tell them you're proud of them. And they can achieve anything. Everything is possible. And if they really want, they can achieve anything they want. And that's what happened to my son. He really achieved. Nobody would think he would be able to achieve what he achieved. And he's the best soldier he could ever been. He was awarded the burial of his commander, which was a great honor when he did Matakunta. And I don't think he would have been able to do it if he didn't know that his parents supported him and loved him. And I think it's such an important thing. Even to my older children now, every time I speak to them, I say I love them and I'm very proud of them. And anybody who's close to you, they need to hear you love them. Another thing is, since Nathanel has gone, first we received great support from Israel, from different organizations. There's Or Mishpacha, there's One Family, Yad Lebanim, and Menucha Yeshua, and all these organizations, they organize breakfast, concert, a lot of different things, a weekend away to make sure that we looked after. And I think it's unique to Israel. There's a lot of care. Every Hagim, we receive a gift from all different organizations, wine, food gift, for Pesach, for Rosh Hashanah, for Purim, for Hanukkah. They are there for us. And that's unique, I think, to Israel.
Tell me, the fact that you've got other adult children, do they also receive the same assistance, or is it more just the parents?
In fact, that's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I was invited to the Knesset twice, actually, but the second time I was invited because they invited me as a whole family to see if we were looked after properly. And I did tell them that there is a lack of care for the siblings, and they're trying to work on that.
It's well known too that kids with challenges, or young adults, let's call them, with challenges, when they go into the army, has a way of turning them around. And I've seen that with so many people. I saw that with my son also, who was also having some rough teenage years, how it literally turns them around, the discipline and the mission and the having meaning. And I'm so relieved to hear that Nathanel, at least at the end, when he was killed, he was leading a meaningful life. He was loving what he was doing. Also with the music, he had his passion as well as being a soldier.
Absolutely. And he made a lot of impact in a lot of people's life as well. I have people contacting me after his death and telling me story how without him, they wouldn't have achieved what they achieved. It's incredible what he's achieved and he was helping people a lot. He didn't hesitate. He didn't have money, but he said, okay, here's my credit card, book the flight, and don't worry about it. And my husband said, maybe she's not going to pay you back. Yes, she will. Don't worry, it's fine. He was there to help people. And I'll tell you an interesting story. He went to the Nakiva camp at 16, and he got kicked out, and that's in a very nice way. And he got kicked out because he vaped, and he was not allowed to vape. Didn't do anything wrong, but just he vaped. Okay, so he was actually treated like a criminal and sent out. Nobody contacted him again. And then the first Yom Hazikaron, a few days before Yom Hazikaron, the Nakiva called me and say, can we tell the story of your son for Yom Hazikaron? And then I went absolutely crazy. And I said, absolutely not. Because you didn't care about him while he was alive. You didn't care. Didn't care what happened to him. And now you want to tell his story? I told them why I was so unhappy with them. Because he was not treated nicely. And after that, a friend of Nathanel, who was with him at the Nakiva camp, wrote me a long letter. She said to me, oh, do you know, Abdi, what Nathanel did to me? I was very unhappy. It was the first time I left home. I was in camp. I didn't want to be in camp, but my parents told me to go to camp. I was crying every day. And Nathanel is the one who sat with me a few times at night and talked to me and saying, you'll be okay, don't worry. And thanks to Nathanel, I had the best time ever. If it was not for Nathanel, I would not have stayed in the camp. And I thought about it. My goodness, a lot of young people have talents, and people don't know them. Usually, people see people for what they're doing wrong, not what they're doing. That's a problem. And I want to say, I've been in touch with this school in London, which is JFS, which is one of the biggest schools in Europe, Jewish school, secondary school, a very big school, a very good school. But unfortunately, it was not the right school for my son. After he passed away, the school called me about a week later, and the deputy head called me and said what a wonderful boy I had and how sorry they were. And I was shocked. So I contacted the school, and I'm now in contact with the new headmaster. And I told him how I felt about the school, but how Nathan is not the only one to have trouble and not to be understood. And now we're launching a program, a VALA program, who's going to help children who have difficulty of being listened to. First, find their aspiration, find their passion, and then help them to achieve that passion.
So you're doing that in England through the school, through the same school that he was at JFS?
Yeah. It's very
That's
important
incredible.
very important to me because he was not treated well at all. They promising him things like they asked him, "What do you want from the school?" And he was telling them, and then nothing was in plan. And young people, when you promise them things and you don't come up with it, it's not the way to do it. If you want to help somebody, you don't promise things you can't achieve, you can't do. So but I'm very much in touch with the school, and we're trying to set up this program, but we're going to be professional helping. And also a really nice idea we came up with is to ask these children to write few lines about their aspiration, what they want from life, what their dreams are, and actually frame it and put it around the school with their name underneath it. Because it's to publicize what they want and give them recognition. In high school, usually the best people get the prize. And now we created a Nathanel Young prize for children who achieve the impossible.
I started a program here in Israel called Impact IL. And one of our target markets is the students in school, exactly that, teaching them real life skills, empowering them. And it's aimed at students of different ages, but it's especially aimed at picking up those who maybe are lacking that confidence and needing this aspiration and inspiration. So what you're saying really touches me because I can totally gel with that. Also, having had kids in the school system that didn't have it smooth sailing, that were also picked on, disciplinary issues and everything, when if anyone had taken the real time to see that there was more beyond that and there were learning issues involved in this and that. And so it's so important what you say. I think we as a society are too quick to point out people's errors and where they're going wrong, and not enough giving compliments and saying thank you for where they're going.
So with my children, we created a fund. We've got 3 projects. One of the projects is the JFS, but also we have another project with a school in Yerushalayim with the Rizzo, and it's for children. It's also on education. I'm very much into education. And a school for children who prepare them for the working life. So they have 3 departments. They have a hairdressing department, a cooking department, and a music department. And the music department is a music production, which is exactly what Nathan was doing. It will be starting soon. The third project is Crossroad, which is an organization who help children who are on the street, and a kind of a counseling organization. And I'll send you the link to the fund as well. Maybe you want to tell people about that.
Yes, please. I'd like it if you send me all the links, and I'd be happy to put it in the show notes that people can contribute or donate.
It's really important because the youth is the future. If we don't look after our youth, then we have no future. And especially with all what's happened with the war and since October 7th, people are witnessing they shouldn't have. People have lost siblings, have lost maybe parents, brothers. So I think it's so important to concentrate and help the youth in Israel and also abroad. And I think that's my passion. And if I can make another difference to my son by encouraging him and telling him he can achieve anything he wants and that I'll be part of it. So I think if I click the Bible with my son, anything is possible. And I'm still so proud of him. And to say that at 20, to somebody achieve their dream, not many people can achieve a dream at 20 years old. And for him, I'm so proud, but I'm so sad that he left us because I think it would have been amazing. He would have been an amazing person. And I think we lost somebody amazing, and we lost a lot of amazing people. But I'm so proud that he managed to achieve this. And another thing is I'm so pleased that I had such this connection because I have no regrets. I know that I gave my all to my son, and I know that he passed away knowing that his mother loved him and his parents cared for him, and we had this connection. So it's really important.
Firstly, what you're saying is so special and so meaningful, and I'm sure that will touch the hearts of many people. So a few words to summarize.
To summarize it, I thank Hashem every day that we're in Israel. I thank Hashem for my beautiful children and my grandchildren. I think I wouldn't have been able to carry on if it was not my children who have been incredible. They're very involved with also raising money and also perpetuating the memory of my son. And they're amazing support to me. They are Gabby Elliott and Daniel. Daniel is actually currently serving in Lebanon as a Miluim soldier in Sanfanim. And I know it's safe, so I hope Hashem. And keep praying and supporting Chayalim because they are unique people. And also keep telling your children that you love them. And please don't ever say to a member of your family, I'll never speak to you again, because they're your family. Yes, they might not be perfect, but then they're your family and you need to love them and do the best of them. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride and say you love them and you're very special, and let's get on and put the silly problem away. Sometimes usually it's about money or it's about this and about that, but you know that what is important is the family, the link, the connection you have, and work on that connection. Carrie is tagged with me every day. So he's with me every day, and the minute I don't think of him. And coming into Yom Hazikaron is always a bit hard for me, but we will, unfortunately, that's what we have to do, and we have to remember them. So I'll be there on Yom Hazikaron at Herzl, honoring my son and all the other soldiers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chantal Young, for sharing this very special story, your family story, and also that of our soldier. And I'll say our soldier because he was all of our soldiers. He's your son, but he's all of our soldiers. Nathanel Young, Zichrono Livracha, a special boy who, thankfully, as you say, had a loving family who let him know how special he was and that he was loved and that he was able to achieve his dreams at the young age that he was tragically taken from us. Yom Hazikaron, a difficult day for us all, thinking of all our soldiers that have been tragically taken, of our victims of terror. I'm Lesley Kaplan. Thank you for joining us for this special episode. Thank you to our sponsors, Eggert & Cohen Insurance, and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. And we will see you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Bye-bye.